The reason why I decided to read this book is because we are in such a disinformation age, and I don't even feel like things are really hidden anymore. I think that's pretty obvious to people, but there's just so much information out there. And, the fact that essential oils are made from a plant, I think that that's why people just think that they're good for your health. But I think the whole point of me reading this book is to just show how unfactual that really is. In today's video, I'm going to go over chapter 2 of Essentially Deadly. And, at the beginning of this, I am just going to I'm going to tell you what the contents are of each chapter. So we already did chapter 1, what is an essential oil anyways? Chapter 2 is the poison in your pantry. Chapter 3 is the central nervous system. 4 is endocrine and reproductive systems. 5 is respiratory and olfactory system. 6 is cardiovascular. 7 is digestive system. 8 is immune system. 9 is skin. 10 is oral health. 11, the canary in your coal mine. 12, the delusion of delusion. Number 13, excuse me, I can taste you. Number 14, the marketer in your ear. 15, the problem with purity. 16, drops of disconnection. 17, but the Egyptians. 18, sneaky, sneaky. 19, let's try something else. 20, thanks but no thanks. 21, chemical safety profiles at a glance. 22, references. Okay, so today I'm going to be reading chapter 2, which is the poison in your pantry. Now that we've got a little bit of a grasp on how they are made and what they actually are, let's talk about what purposes they serve in nature and kind of meander our way through this together. As far as we know, VOCs and plants serve two main purposes, and some of these purposes are more present and or apparent depending on the plant, current environment, and insect herbivore pressure. Number 1, an attractant of pollinators. Number 2, a defense mechanism. The second is pretty disturbing, really. It's insecticide, full stop. Basically, plants produce these volatile oils as a defense mechanism against rasping, biting, sucking, this is sounding dirty, haha, ravenous insects, rodents, deer, other randomly hungry animals, and of course humans too. Consider the fact that right now, at this very moment in existence, you can buy fully marketed bug repellents made with essential oils. I actually laughed hysterically when the first major brand ad came onto the TV showing a random, all dressed in white, of course, woman bug bombing her home with the soft-spoken narrator saying, "Our all-natural product uses essential oils to fight off unwanted pests while keeping your family safe." Meanwhile, in the commercial, kids are getting bug bombed. It reminded me of the kids in the 1950s running through the DDT mist clouds that safely killed bugs. Okay, let's get back on track and dig into some facts about this. Let's start with this handy little study. Plant volatile organic compounds evolution, transcriptional, regulation, epigenetics, and polyploidy. VOCs are also crucial in plant defense against herbivores and protections from pathogens. VOCs can act as repellents, being constitutively emitted, or showing an increased emission during herbivore attack. In addition, specific VOCs can perform as indirect defenses, which can drastically reduce the number of herbivores, especially insects and larvae, by attracting parasitoids and predators. Furthermore, bacteria-specific VOCs are emitted by plants with a diagnostic purpose, triggering defense signaling pathways and acting as direct inhibitors of bacterial growth, therefore making plants more resistant to pathogen invasion. Although pollinator attraction and plant defense may be the most important function of VOCs, they play many other roles in the interaction of plants with the environment. VOCs are essential to plant signaling, allowing other plants to respond to herbivores and activate defenses before being attacked. They also work as chemicals and neighbor detection signals, taking part in competition between plants and also having an effect on the availability of environmental factors. Give me a sec to break this down for you after acknowledging how absolutely awesome plants are and how we need to be far more aware of their sentient intelligence. Basically, this and many, many other studies show that beyond attracting pollinators, the primary function of essential oils in plants is to act as a deterrent to basically anything that might want to eat them. It gets cooler, and they can even signal to each other that danger is near and increase the amount of VOCs present. A good example of this you may experience at some point in your life is when you begin to harvest mint and suddenly the smell is so strong you become nauseated. This isn't simply because you're kicking up more scent by moving the plant around. They are factually and rapidly off-gassing VOCs to say, "Get the hell off of me." For years, I worked in the medicinal cannabis industry, and when it comes time to harvest in the fall, those ladies would throw off so many defense VOCs, I would become extremely nauseated. In fact, many people, when working with large amounts of living cannabis during harvest, will take something like Dramamine to prevent the onset of nausea as the plant genuinely attacks. You know, plants don't want to die either, right? One thing this study covered that is really awesome is not only do they crank out VOCs to protect themselves from a danger, they even use them to attract other predators or whatever is trying to eat them. Essentially, that sweet little plant is letting out a battle cry with a scent that says, "Come kill my enemy and I will reward you with a resource, even if that reward is fake." Genius. You might not think this would apply to humans, but I can't even count the number of times I couldn't continue my harvest of a plant because they were suddenly being pollinated by tons of wasps. Not honeybees, those ladies don't scare me, but full-on wasps that were not there when I began. Now, you may have noticed that the study also said they can produce VOCs that are specific to attacking bacteria and fungal invaders that may cause disease. Awesome. This is also why many essential oil advocates will praise their ability to cure just about anything. Let me clarify, and probably should have done this sooner. I'm not saying that essential oils don't have beneficial properties to them. I'm saying they're incredibly potent, and it's like using a black box antibiotic because we have a little sniffle or want our home to smell like lavender. I will also show you how many of the supposed benefits can rapidly be outweighed by the dangers, but we'll dig into that a little bit later. Anyhow, this means that plants have the capacity to ramp up not only VOC production, remember that can mean up to 1,700 different chemicals, but they also can choose to create more of a specific VOC for any situation they are facing. That is the utter definition of an intelligence defense mechanism. Now, this study and others will claim that pollinator attraction is likely the primary role, but ultimately, if the plant does not survive predation, it can't reproduce. So I'll say defense is, at the very least, the most active role because a plant spends a lot more time in defensive mode in comparison to seed setting mode. Just something to ponder. So let's see what this looks like in action. In 2019, there was a real issue with bugs that love to eat various grains such as rice. Some scientists, likely paid by the industry, wanted to see if essential oils could be used to kill these bugs. It went something like this: evaluation of insecticidal effects of plants' essential oils extracted from basil, black seeds, and lavender against Cytophilus orzae. So for context, because let's take this in bite-sized amounts, Cytophilus orzae is a bug called a rice weevil. It eats rice. Let's see what they did to this little bug, shall we? The 3 studies of EO showed a toxic effect on S. orzae, where O. basilicum and L. angustifolia EOs explicated 100% mortality at 6 milligrams per cm2 after 48 and 24 hours, respectively. The highest repellent activity was recorded for O. basilicum EO at 0.75 mg/cm2 with a value of 82.3% after exposure time of 5 hours. In the higher dose, 6 milligrams per cm2, the maximum upregulated expression level of detoxification, DEG's genes CL1294 and CL8, and cytochrome P450 gene CYP4Q4 in lavandula angustifiola EOs exhibited 8.32, 6.08, and 3.75 fold changes, respectively, as compared with 4.76 fold at 10 ppm malathion and 1.02 fold change in acetone control. They killed them. I mean, that's what they say, but let me break it down into April speak for you. They sprayed these bugs with essential oils of lavender, basil, and black seed. So it's important to know they're looking for which is the most toxic. That's the literal point of this study, and there were no survivors within 48 hours of blasting them with the lavender and or basil. Now, the basil essential oil killed them within 5 hours of contact. That's aggressive. That's full systematic shutdown. That's organ failing, little bug respiratory system failing. That's X's in eyes like little cartoon bugs as they flip on their back and legs in the air. They were dead. Something scary to consider is that lavender essential oil, while not as fast acting as basil, was particularly brutal and outright caused damage in gene expression of their little bug bodies, gave way to buggy death. Read that again. I am keenly aware that you are not a bug, in case someone was thinking that. However, scale is important here because tiny bugs get tiny amounts, but to them it's a huge amount. This study could be scaled up to mice, rabbits, Homo sapiens. The amount of essential oils that they blasted these little rice-eating guys with was only about 6 milligrams max, but to a bug, that's like rubbing a whole bottle of essential oil all over your body and having all of the air you breathe saturated with it. Wait, do we do that? I mean, we're not pouring highly concentrated amounts of these volatile oils all over our skin, are we? We surely not using glorified pesticide fogger to mist these into the air we're breathing, right? Oh shit. Let me put that oh shit moment into context for you. So that, and many other studies were done to find that instantly lethal dose of essential oil, because no one's like, you know what? I want to kill bugs, but let's really draw this out to where it takes a systematic buildup of a toxin over time before they die. See what I did there? It's not that a single drop of essential oil in all of its massive concentrations of VOCs will kill you at the moment. It's rather that we are absolutely inundated with them. Humans are constantly being exposed to these refined VOCs in our food, cosmetics, cleaning agents, and herbal remedies. And we know that many have the capacity to build up in the tissue and slowly wreak havoc on our health over time. This is the definition of irony, since they are so aggressively marketed as amazing for your health. But hey, they've never told us something is healthy for us when it's not, right? Alrighty, let's break this down by sections of bodily functions where I show you how certain VOCs have been shown to cause harm. This section has the real capacity to be an overwhelming and dry information dump. I am going to try keeping it in human sounding and limit my magpie self to a smaller amount of information. Well, a small amount of information in comparison to my normal brain dump, so I'm sure it will still add up to be a lot.